Cruise news time. And look, we know that the cruise companies, they're trying to be environmentally savvy, environmentally conscious. Well, there's a big announcement out today that there's a cruise company that's going to have a terminal that uses zero energy. Zero energy. Interesting. Also, we're getting another story from a popular cruise port that they're going to build another cruise terminal. And I don't even think they need another cruise terminal. One of my favorite destinations finally reopening for cruising. And would you do this? Would you spend $160,000 on an air cruise? Air cruise. I think I'm making that up. Air cruise. Look, cruise news and my views. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Lido, Loca. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news and views for your face. The date is Friday the 14th, 2022. Are we ready for the weekend? I'm ready for the weekend. Look, I've got some really wild cruise news stories for you today, but I got to start with this zero energy cruise terminal. Royal Caribbean, they're building a brand new cruise terminal in Galveston, Texas, and they figured out a way to power that cruise terminal using the energy that they create at that cruise terminal. The primary source will be the sun. Solar panels will power the cruise terminal, and any excess power will be sent back to the power grid. So they're trying to build a cruise terminal that uses zero grid power, only power that they're generating themselves, and then any carbon emissions that they have carbon credits. I'm not even sure how that works. Carbon credits to nullify the carbon emissions. And look, this cruise terminal is not cheap. It's $125 million. It's not small, 161,000 square feet, and it's got some capacity. They anticipate that they will host 630,000 cruisers every year. Now look, they got their work cut out for them. They got a plan in place. When they pull this off, this will be a huge accomplishment for Royal Caribbean. This will be the world's first LEED, L-E-E-D, zero energy certified facility. And if that accomplishment wasn't enough, they also expect to receive the LEED, the LEED Gold certification within the first half of 2023. This cruise terminal will be ready to rock and roll in November, just next month. I know the folks in Galveston are excited. Are you a Texas cruiser deep in the heart of Texas? Are you a Texas cruiser? Are you fired up about the new Royal Terminal in Galveston, or do you cruise Carnival in Galveston? Be an interesting conversation. Leave a comment below. Cruise news story number 2, not to be outdone by Galveston, Texas. I'm sure they don't even care. Bahamas. The Bahamas, they're developing all kinds of cruise ports and cruise terminals. If you've been to Nassau at all in the last few months, or really in the last year, you see that the main cruise terminal in Nassau doesn't look anything like it used to pre-pandemic. They tore down all the existing structures. They worked on all of the berths. Everything's nice, shiny, and new there. And they've still yet to open the new cruise terminal, but that is getting close. Well, while that's going on, there's a couple other major projects going on. There's a project to build out this thing called Calypso Cove. Calypso Cove will be a resort type area that will also have cruise ports. So it'll have amenities like beaches and lodging and shopping, but it will also have cruise ports that can host Oasis-class large cruise ships. The Calypso Cove development's actually being spearheaded by a former Carnival VP, really trying to transform another part of the Bahamas. There's a lot of ships in the Bahamas. I mean, that's a great question. Some days you go to the Bahamas and there's 5, 6 cruise ships, and I guess more people could go to Nassau if there were more berths for cruise ships, and it seems like this is what Calypso Cove is going to be providing, another option for going to the Bahamas. And we already know that over on Grand Bahama Island, where Freeport is, Carnival is currently working on a development of its own, a private development. So yeah, the Bahamas going to be chock full of nuts, just like the coffee. There's going to be a lot of private islands there, and apparently there's going to be a lot of cruise ports, going to be a lot of jobs for Bahamians. It's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out. It would be cool to go to the Nassau area and not go to the old cruise port, which is now refurbished. It would be cool to go to a place like Calypso Cove. We'll have to see what happens in the future. But do you get off at Nassau? I know a lot of people don't even get off at Nassau. Do you get off at Nassau? Let me know in the comments. Cruise news story number 3, a quickie. There's a few locations across the globe that have not reopened up for cruising, China being one of those. I've been to China, but the other place that I went on that China trip that's been shut down, well, they're getting ready to open back up again. Japan is opening back up for cruise travel. They anticipate to have cruises going to Japan the next season, so in 2023, and the news is spreading, and there are bookings all over the place for Japan. Celebrities got a ship going there. If you got Japan on your bucket list and you've been waiting for cruises to reopen to Japan, well, it's time to start looking. I tell you, that's one of the places that I would 100% go back to and cruise there again. I would like to go back there and even just stay on land in Japan. It was fascinating. It was wonderful. If you got any interest in it all, get that thing back on your bucket list and start looking for Japan cruises. Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. Domo. Domo. Thank you very much, Mr. Roboto. What a great song that was. I had it on vinyl, and I think it was in the 3rd or 4th grade. Favorite Styx song? I digress. Leave a comment below. Now, I got to tell you about a crazy way to spend $160,000. You can do it on an air cruise, and it's actually being put forth by a company that owns cruise ships. But before I get there, before I tell you that, let me quickly invite you to subscribe. If you like staying up to date with everything that's going on in cruising, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of these episodes. And look, it's that time of the show for you to hit the like button. We're more than halfway through. You know at this point whether you like it or not, but it's really a simple choice. You can hit the like button or I can punish you. And if you do not hit the like button, your punishment will be this. We're going to find one of those last few elementary schools that still use a chalkboard, no whiteboard. We're talking about old school chalk, and it's going to be your job for the rest of the semester to go down to where the janitor is and clean the chalk out of the erasers. Did you ever have that? It was always treated like it was some special event. Do you want to go clean the erasers? And you got to run yow. Look, I don't think anybody wants to do that these days. You can avoid that simply by hitting the like button. All right, cruise news story number 4. It's a big one. Abercrombie and Kent. No, not Abercrombie and Finch. We're not talking about nicely dressed models. We're talking about Abercrombie and Kent. You know the name because that's the firm that is trying to resurrect Crystal Cruises from the, like a phoenix. Can we have a phoenix reference when it has to do with cruise ships and water? I don't know. Resurrecting Crystal Cruises. Well, they also have an interesting way that you can spend $160,000. They're offering a fantastical plane travel extravaganza for 48 people that have $160,000, and it's an air cruise. I mean, they're not calling it an air cruise. I'm calling it an air cruise. We're coining a phrase here, but essentially that's what it is. They're going to put you on this airplane, this luxury jet, and then they're going to fly you to a city. They're going to put you up in a nice hotel, and you're going to be able to excursion. They're going to give you excursions, and then when you're done at that spot, then you're going to have to run the pier, you're going to run the jetway, and get on this plane, and then go to the next city, to the next luxury hotel, to the next excursion, and on and on. And how long is this trip, you may be asking, for $164,000? Well, it's 24 days. Okay, it doesn't seem like that good a value for just 24 days. It does sound like the lap of luxury, though. It kicks off in Seattle, then it goes to Japan, the Philippines, Malaysia, India, Madagascar, Rwanda, Kenya, and winds down in Boston. So certainly you could go travel all these places on your own with your own plane and your own hotel, but there is something to be said for having it as an all-inclusive activity. And again, it just costs you $160,000. For $160,000, you could take a world cruise and go to 9 continents and all that. It probably won't be as high a lap of luxury, but still pretty high. How much money do you have that $160,000 for 24 days doesn't seem like a big deal? Somebody do that calculation for me and let me know in the comments below. And speaking of short excursions, look, they're not all built the same. If you'd like to check out my short excursion guide for new travelers, check out that video next. This is Tony for Lido, Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido.